My name is Ann Johnston, and I'm an administrative assistant in the Department of Child Studies and Social Work.
My name is Ashley. I am the admin assistant to Liz, the Director of Nursing and Midwifery.
My name is Ayan Mack. I am Simulation Faculty Development Lead, and I am at the School of Nursing and Midwifery.
My name is Chelan McCallion, and I am in a 12-month limited term, just hired in a 10-year-old position as assistant professor in the Bachelor of Child Studies in the Department of Child Studies and Social Work.
My name is Danaiet Teame. My department is the Simulation Center, and I'm the manager for the Health Simulation Learning Center at Memorial University.
My name is Erin Davidson. I'm the academic advisor for the Department of Education.
My name is Joshua Hill. I'm an assistant professor of education at Mount Royal University.
Hi, my name is Lynn Headley, and I'm a new assistant professor in the School of Nursing and Midwifery.
I'm Michelle Adams. I'm the recruiter for the School of Nursing and Midwifery.
Hi, my name is Shaminder Singh. I am an assistant professor at the Faculty of Health, Community and Education under School of Nursing and Midwifery.
I'm currently reading The Rural Diaries by Hilary Burton Morgan. It's just a biography of her life in recent years.
The picture of Dorian's picture. I think it's Oscar Wilde's book. Dorian's picture is a very interesting book. I'm not sure how much time I have. It is one of these interesting books where the teachers give you in high school, but you can never see the relevancy, and you have this visceral reaction of not liking it. But then as an adult looking back this book, now I understand why I really didn't like. I can articulate better now, because it is 1817 story that was happening with a young 18-year-old man with that Victorian time. It had no relevance with my world, so I can see why I had that reaction, and why is it important that we have an education that's really relevant to the person being educated learners. Yeah, it's an interesting book if you want to pick up.
So the books that I've been reading lately, I've really been into World War I and World War II, but personal story is not so much about the war. But I have just recently started the Bridgerton series. So for any women out there that have watched Bridgerton on Netflix, the books are just as good. So I've been reading those series.
I'm reading a book on dialogue, second edition. It's by David Bohm, B-O-H-M is his name. And also there's a book called on digital finance, security tokens and unblocking the real potential of blockchain. And I'm interested how this is going to impact our healthcare system. It's about the blockchain, but blockchain is a future technology that's coming into all fields, including the healthcare system. So that's why I'm reading that book.
Husband Dean suggested reading Five Little Indians, which I've just finished. This book was written by Michelle Good, who is a member of Saskatchewan's Red Pheasant Cree Nation, also the daughter and granddaughter of people who went through the residential school system. It was a very thought-provoking book, if you're interested. It's good.
Well, I have to say that I brought a few to show you, but this one is probably my favorite. So I Love You to the Moon and Back. So it's a really light read. The characters are really quite complex though, so take your time with this one. There's a few pages that you really need to get into, and really kind of makes you do a little bit of reflecting. It's thought-provoking. It really kind of puts you to sleep. Just the content is just so rich. So just make sure that you have this one on your nightstand. And that was obviously quite a joke. The other one that, in all seriousness, I think is important for people within education, people within early learning, and particularly within maybe some of our populations for younger youth. And also, if you have young kids, it's quite a magical book, and it's called Sometimes I Feel Like a Fox. And this book is actually letting you know what your totem animal would be. So it helps children understand how they're feeling and where that would match up to their totem animal. And it's also dedicated to the thousands of Métis and Aboriginal children who grew up never knowing their totem animal. So this is a must-have.
Actually, I'm reading a book called Home is Not a Country by a Sudanese author named Sophia. And yeah, with all the movement that's been happening, it's been really nice to read her take on what it means to, where do you call home? It's been a really nice, easy read.
The book that I'm going to be reading over the summer is actually a book club pick that I'm in. It's called The Fish That Ate the Whale. It's about a man called Samuel Emery, I think was his name. He earned the nickname the Banana Man because he built this huge fruit-selling empire, and it's sort of about how he achieved this American dream, but the way he did that was sort of questionable some way. So it should be interesting. Wouldn't be my first pick, but I guess that's the point of book club, to get you out of your comfort zone. So it should be good.
Right now, I'm reading a book with my kids that is called Those Who Dwell Below. It's by Johnston, and it draws on Inuit stories. It's kind of set in Nunavut, and features a lot of traditional language and legends and stories, and both my kids and I are really enjoying reading it.
Most of what I'm reading right now is related to my research, so I have journal articles spread all over my desk right now on good mothering and the cycles of trauma and mother shaming, etc. However, I did pause long enough to read what I thought was a really great novel called Up Ghost River by Edmund, if I say this right, Metawatastwan. And it's a story of a chief that's in BC and his experience in survival of residential school. I highly recommend that book. I just wanted insight into that experience, and it was a page turner for sure.
Because we live in Calgary and it always changes, and I hate being unprepared for the weather. And then I'd probably choose Audible and podcasts because I really like listening to people talk to me, apparently.
Emails, calendar, and I have an app. It's called OmniFocus, which is also a task management. Like you can put your projects and break down into tasks, and it's a pretty good app that allows you to sort out your different lists based on locations, based on projects. So I like that. I'm a yoga teacher. I did my 6 months residential yoga teacher from India. So I do yoga, walk in the mountains a lot. And also I developed the interest in Tai Chi. This is my new interest, some meditation.
My wellness, I like to bike, I like to walk, I did have a dog, so lots of dog walks, and now I just go with my friends who have dogs. I like to walk to the grocery store, I like to garden, and just getting outside. So, and if I'm kind of overwhelmed, we have a little kiddie pool that I throw a floaty in, and I float around and read a book. So that's what I like to do to kind of relax and for my wellness.
Wellness is I do a lot of camping, and I work in clay and oil paints, and so I do a lot of sculpture. And I have a picture of myself sculpturing in my favorite campground while I'm camping, and that's a picture that I will share.
For my own wellness, I love to get outside into the natural world, spend lots of time at Nose Hill Park, which is pretty close to my house, as well as Confederation Park. Playing with my kids, walking as a sort of a form of meditation and connection. Running for exercise are all part of what I do for my own wellness.
What I do for my own wellness is more recently, since I've been working from home, I've been trying to get out to Fish Creek more. I live quite close to it, so I go out there during lunch with my dog or with my husband, and we kind of just explore the trails and paths. And it's nice because you feel sort of removed from the city, so it's good for the brain and the mental state. And then the other thing I do is I try to spend a lot of time with my mom during the week. I always feel recharged after I visit with her a bit. Just try to appreciate the time that I have with her. And those are the two big things for sure.
For my own wellness I love going to spin classes pre-pandemic. Hopefully those will come back soon. I love reading, spending time with family. I have a 3-year-old nephew who is the most fun and makes any day better.
As I said earlier, I think being back to Canada has been really nice. I lived in the desert in Qatar for the last 6 years, so just being outside, seeing the mountains, going for a walk has been really nice and something that has kept me grounded over the last little while, especially as being in quarantining or in isolation. So I've been doing lots of walking and heading to the mountains as often as I can.
My dog Lenny every single evening, sometimes in the morning on the weekends as well, so double walks. And you'll see from the video that she also makes quite a good assistant. So she actually retrieves some of the documents from the printer for me, and she is just quite lovely, and she does it in the most gentle way. However, I was thinking that we might need to trust some of the excuses that our students might have, and a classic one would be my dog may eat my homework, and you'll see from the video that it's quite true.
My undergraduate, I went to University of Prince Edward Island, and then my master's, I went to University of Calgary.
To school at the University of Calgary. I actually have 4 degrees from the U of C, and most recently completed my PhD there in the fall of 2020.
So I've gone to school in 2 provinces. I grew up in Saskatchewan and went to school in Saskatoon, and then my post-secondary schooling was all at U of C. Other than I did go to nursing school at Foothills School of Nursing before it closed.
I am a Mount Royal alumni, so I'm wearing my sweater today. I graduated from the Child and Youth Care Counselor Diploma, and I went on to finish my Bachelor of Child Studies at the University of Victoria, and continued with graduate studies at the University of Victoria as well.
Yeah, I have, my school was really a Catholic school. When I was young, I was always in the Catholic schools in the Vatican, actually, to believe it or not, in Rome. I went to school there undergraduate, like a young age. And when I came to Toronto, I went to Catholic schools, and I ended up with the Catholic school in the University of Toronto, St. Michael's College. And because I was in the nursing department, I remained to take some courses there, and it was really a wonderful experience. My undergraduate is University of Toronto in nursing, and my graduate master's degree I did the University of Toronto at the same time. And so I came in here all the way to Calgary to do my PhD. So that's the only schoolings I had except the postgraduate education. So those are my schools. University of Toronto alumni is everywhere, so it's interesting.
I'm gone to school in India. I did my first bachelor's degree in master's and a postmaster diploma in psychology. And I came to Canada, and I did my nursing bachelor's degree again and PhD and postdoc in University of Calgary.
I have been interested in soccer since I was young. I think a lot of the kids that I grew up played soccer. And so my children are really soccer fanatics and swimming fanatics. So I do coach sometimes soccer and swimming.
Probably, I think the most interesting one, and most people from my department might know this one, but I actually wrote a majority of my thesis in something called a spirit sphere. They are located out just outside of Parksville, and they are these magical tree houses where you're at one with nature, and they're pretty magical. So I decided to write as much as I could out there, and it was quite an inspiring place. And copious amounts of red wine were also involved. And so after reviewing my work, I decided that there was actually a lot of revisions that needed to be made. So I just decided to do that back at home in an office.
An interesting fact about myself is that I'm a twin. I have a twin sister, and we were born on Valentine's Day. And so my name was almost Valerie because I was born first, and my sister's name would have been Tina. However, the woman in the next bed stole that idea from my mom and dad, and so I ended up being Lynn instead. Thank goodness.
So an interesting fact about me is I tend to get stung by something whenever we go to a different country. So in Costa Rica, I was stung by a scorpion. In Thailand, I was stung by a jellyfish. So hopefully there's not third time's a charm.
This is the first summer that I'm spending in Canada fully. I've lived abroad for quite some time, so it's been really nice to be back to Canada, back to the mountains, and it's just been really nice to be back in Canada.
One highlight from our summer is we have had a chance to get to a number of really special places in Alberta camping as a family. We got a chance to go down to Esanapi, or Writing on Stone, which is a really special, important place for the Blackfoot people. Had a chance to connect with Blackfoot elder there, Sipokito, and learn a lot about the stories and the traditional uses of that space. We also got out to Cypress Hills, which is another important cultural site for my Métis ancestors, as well as other Indigenous groups. So we had a chance to spend some time there, do some learning, and be in nature and connect to the natural world.
Sure, the highlight from my summer this year will be getting married. It hasn't happened yet, but it will, and I'm sure it'll be a lot of fun. There's been a lot of build up to it.
I think for me, the highlight of my summer was when the province opened up and COVID restrictions were lifted. That did it for me.
Summer, I bought a small boat, like inflatable boat, and I am doing a lot of floating on the river and in the lakes. So I'm pretty enjoying that.
Summer is definitely the road trip that we take out to my husband's family's cabin. We drive out there every August. We drive straight to Vancouver throughout the night. So we have lots of road snacks, good music, podcasts. But that road trip is definitely like the signal to me to turn off the work brain and kind of forget about the responsibilities at home, and knowing what's on the end of that road trip is sort of makes it all worth it. So I look forward to that every year for sure.
So one highlight from my summer is we just got 2 kittens. So got them 2 days ago. They're cute little Great Persians, and they're very sweet. And we're excited to have animals back into our house again.
I know that most people did not enjoy the pandemic, and I totally understand. But the pandemic was probably one of the greatest times of my life, as I had my twins during that time. So I was pregnant throughout the pandemic, and I gave birth during the pandemic. So I was wearing a mask and all of those fun things, went to appointments alone, and waited for the birth of these 2 babies to arrive. And they're here, and it's been a magical time for me. So I've actually been able just to spend the most time with them and be at home. And now we're starting to get out into the real world, so it's a little bit scary for all of us. But they are pretty fascinated with what's out there and what's around them and what they've been missing. So their names are Stella Carling and Giada Capri.
The favorite time during the pandemic would have been last Christmas, when I spent a very quiet time with my son and daughter-in-law, where the three of us just relaxed and had peaceful time without the hustle and bustle of our typical Christmas.
Really good question. I live around Banff Trail area, close to the university and University of Calgary, and close to the foothills. And the pandemic, it was really a good time for my husband and my children and myself to be really spending a lot of time at home. But what we noticed is that our grocery store and where we go, there's a lot of homeless people, increasing homeless people. And one of the best things is that they really are hungry. And one of my best memories for this pandemic is that my 10-year-old, my 8-year-old, and myself making a lot of lunches and going out and handing in lunches for these around our house, like around our grocery store. They stand in front of the grocery store, these people really hungry. So it's something that I really noticed, that the grocery store people pass by and they say, I'm hungry, please feed me, but nobody pays attention. So we bought the supplies and then we made it and we went back and we handed in and we get to know the people. And my kids are really good friends with them when they walk by. These people are so protective of my kids now. When they see crossing the streets, they yell at the cars to make sure my kids at the bike. You know, it's a really beautiful memory that I have from the pandemic.
I would say my favorite memory is, it's kind of like a collection of memories, but I really loved the community spirit and love that was really shown, especially in the beginning when people would have to be isolating and quarantining, and just the shared responsibility of people being like, okay, so like, what can I do? Can I bring you groceries? And like, I know that my family did that for me when I had to quarantine a few times, and I did it for my own friends and family as well. And it was just a really precious time to see people take such invested care in each other, and I really appreciated it, and I think it really brought us closer even though we were so far away.
The memory, I think, during the past year and a half or during the pandemic was getting married. We had to cancel our big sort of celebration that we had originally planned, but we ended up getting married in my mom's backyard back in June 2020. So that was really special because I grew up in that house, so there's lots of special memories attached to that. But it was sad that we had to cancel, but I think it'll make for a good story one day when we tell any future children or grandchildren.
Before I came to work at MRU, I was an assistant professor at Ambrose University, so not too far, just up the hill, and doing a similar role in working in the Faculty of Education there.
It's interesting. I've held always a variety of jobs. I've never held one single job, but one single job that I held of 7 years was in McGill University at the Faculty of Development. And the last 5 years, I've been holding as a simulation consultant at the foothills at the Alberta Health Services. And I also teach interprofessional education for the Common Medicine and Faculty, University of Toronto, University of Calgary. So I have plenty of things in my head and stumbling with my words.
Prior to joining the Department of Child Studies and Social Work, I was working for Alberta Health for a brief time. Prior to that, I was here at Mount Royal in the Institute for Scholarship of Teaching and Learning for almost 10 years. Prior to that, I was at the University of Calgary.
For the last 6 years, I was working at the University of Calgary in Qatar. I was a faculty and the lead high fidelity simulationist. I taught between the 4 years. In addition to, we had a 2-year program, a bridging program, and I also taught in that program as well.
Before I came to MRU, I actually took 8 years off with my kids. So before my kids, I recruited through Alberta Health Services mostly. And in the last 8 years before that, I decided to take some time off with my kids and was part of school council. We did hung out at our cottages for the summer, did a lot of snowmobiling and fishing and just playing in the water and boating. So that's what I did for my 8 years before I came here.
My greatest dream in life, I think, is definitely to own a piece of property and land out on the West Coast, by the ocean specifically, and be able to live out there full time. I just want to live sort of a simple, laid-back life out there and keep myself busy with gardening and be in nature with animals and all that kind of stuff. So simple, but hopefully it's in the cards for me one day.